struggling to come to grips with reality. Confusion and chaos have become part of me. I seek answers to know where my liberation lies. Only in peace and calmness does that clarity arise. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. So many voices, so many interpretations. No answers given, only outer temptations. Where can I find that truth inside of me? Realization of what I am is all I'm wanting to see. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. No more redirection, ending the contemplation. Forget fighting reflection, outer worlds of projection. Internal is the cause, external's an effect, put it on pause. I'm silencing the noise, centering, entering void. Truth is beautifully subtle, the voice without a voice. Heart and mind shall settle, making decisions now, escaping illusions of choice. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmission. The wisdom transmissions.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Wisdom Transmissions Live. Great to be with all of you once again here today. So I'm going to be bringing in Adronis here in just a few moments. Adronis is going to come in and he's going to be talking about the energy of eclipses. So we have another partial solar eclipse that is coming up here on March 29th. Adronis is going to be elaborating on the details about this important eclipse. It is actually a very important eclipse that is going to be taking place, and he'll be elaborating on more information relating to that. So before we get started, we're going to go ahead and move into some announcements. Then we're going to get into Adronis, and then after Adronis comes through, we'll be taking viewer questions. Now, please remember, even if it is free or donation-based, I am not doing any personal readings. I'm not doing any personal questions, okay? Please make sure you keep your questions semi-personal or general. Next week, Brienne will be with me, and we'll be doing personal readings then, okay? So, but no personal readings today. So I'm just making that very clear, because sometimes I forget about that, and people start putting personal questions on here. So, and even donation-based ones, which makes me feel kind of bad, because again, we're not doing personal readings here for this week's episode, okay? So I will go ahead and get started, and we'll move into some announcements. So let's take a look at our first announcement. Here is Wisdom Transmissions. Okay, so we have private live sessions, 3 questions by email, full body scans, Akashic Records sessions, and energy cord attunements. Okay, now basically a lot of people come to me for healing, and if you're looking for healing, it really depends on the depth that you want to explore. Now, if you're looking into energy cord attunement, you're looking into 3 major areas that you want to look into. This can be physical, mental, or emotional. So if you do have a couple of areas that you want to have looked at, and we're adjusting and aligning your energy, I'm basically tuning into your physical, mental, emotional, etheric body, and detecting the cord that is collectively connected directly to that area or areas that you want to have worked on. And then we're just basically smoothing out that energy. We're basically weakening out that old distorted cord. We're cutting it away, and we're putting a brand new cord directly in its place. I've had people in that sense who have come to me with a great deal of issues, and when they've had an energy cord attunement with me, they're better within about 24 hours. So that's what the energy cord attunement does. When we look at the full body scan, we're just going we're being a lot more thorough with your full body. We're looking into your physical body, we're looking into your energy body, your nutrition body, your DNA body. Depends on the plan that you select. But with plan number 2 and plan number 3, source healing is included. So again, you can check that out with the full body scan, and a lot more thorough source healing is done with those particular scans. So again, private live sessions again are available for people who want to talk to me one-to-one, or in group sessions as well too. They want to interact with Adronis personally. You can do that through Zoom. You can also do that through Skype, through phone call. That is available. If you're too shy, maybe just want to get things done quickly, you can send me a 3 questions by email session. Okay. We again also have online courses here, right? The student training, the coaches training, and the complete resonant dowsing course. This is all hosted on Kajabi, but again, you can just go and you can sign up right away. These are 3 excellent courses. They are basically designed for the everyday person. Okay, a lot of the courses I have right now are for everyday people. That's why they're very affordable. Okay, so you can check those out. Again, that is on the online courses area here. We also have the Adronis Classroom taking place every Sunday. You can start off with a free 7-day trial. It's only $18 per month. Okay, you also get the Adronis 4-phase course included, which contains over 12 hours of teachings. It's very, very valuable. So again, it's patreon.com/Adronis. And again, that's only $18 per month. Okay, moving on. So with Etherics, we now have a 45% off sale that's going on. So all, let me just go ahead and refresh the page here. It should be up there. There we go. 45% off all products. All products in Etherics are now 45% off, with the exception of the brand new personal healing array and the new item imbuing service. So this means that I'm able to work with any particular item in your home and imbue it with RAYD8 and Etherics technology. Okay, so that is extremely powerful. It's $19 Canadian per product here. So get behind that. That is an incredible deal. Okay, so item imbuing service is now available. And like I said, everything else other than the personal healing array, which is a digital product that's now available, everything else is 45% off. Now we do have 50/50 installment payments available, but unfortunately what's been happening is I've had quite a few customers basically scam me. What happens is they pay a 50% installment, and then they cancel their credit cards or they cancel their payments, and then they try to run from the other 50% installment payment while I'm already paying for sending the product directly to them. So unfortunately, I've had quite a few scammers. So because of this, if you do perform the 50/50 installment payment on a product, we keep the product in reserve for you, but we will not be sending it out until the full payment is met. I've had quite a few people do this. They go on, they purchase it. I'm a pretty trusting guy, right? I have no problem with sending out products on time when you basically pay the first 50%. But unfortunately, as I've gone into the back end, I've seen that there's quite a few people that will just scam me, and they will not pay the remaining 50%. Then that bill has to be put on me. The shipping has to be put on me as well too. So I guess I can't be too trusting with people, right? So this is why we can do the 50/50 installment payments. But again, it's just a reserve function, which means we keep your product on reserve, but it will not be sent out until 100% of the payment is done. So I have to kind of put my foot down with this. It's unfortunate that this has happened because I've let this run for months where people just say, okay, I've paid my first half of the payment. Okay, great. And then we get ready and we send it out for them. And then when we go to collect for the remaining 50%, we find out they ditch and they cancel their credit cards and they cancel their PayPal and we can't even contact them. And now we're stuck with the bill. We're stuck with a $50 or $60, $70 shipping bill because they ditch, right? And they basically ruin it for everybody else. So unfortunately, as trusting as I am, I can't do that anymore. So like I said, 50/50 is available, but that will only keep your product on reserve. It will not be sent to you until 100% full payment is made, okay? That's our new policy. We have to do it. We've had too many scammers. So unfortunately, that's been the situation. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that people act like that, but what can you do? But anyways, that discount is now available. Okay, now we go to Predict My Astrology. So again, this is the brand new project of mine that utilizes AI-generated accurate Vedic astrology reports. Okay, you get it within 24 hours or your money back guaranteed. Like I said, I do a lot of these things to treat you guys. Like there's no other astrology website that I've seen that says we'll give you your report within 24 hours, and if you don't get it from us, we give you your money back. Okay, no other astrology website does that. I've looked. We're the only one that does that. Also, we're the only astrology website that offers your report in over 60 different languages. Okay, so that is amazing, right? If you guys have not checked this out yet, what are you doing? These are great prices. They're extremely affordable, okay? And you're getting so much detail off this. Right now, we have the full deluxe report that is on sale right now, and it is extremely large. Usually, it can average between 15 to 40 pages, depending upon the chart that we're reading. But again, it's an incredible deal. You get everything told about what your chart represents, and this helps you so much. This helps you to combat viruses. This helps you to improve your health. This helps you to improve your wealth. I don't think many people understand how incredibly beneficial Vedic astrology is. This is why I've been studying it for the past 5 years, right? It is an incredible system, and it's more accurate than any other astrological system out there. So if you guys have not checked it out yet, you are missing out big time, right? You're looking at deep dive analysis, you're looking at love, career, and wealth guidance. This even helps you how to enhance your relationships, right? Your karma and your life purpose decoded. We're able to help learn to clear karma, working with mantras to help clear that out, working with certain remedies that can help you out. Your annual report about what's ahead for you in the months ahead, opportunities, great windows of opportunities that are coming together in the 2025 year. Why aren't you guys checking this out? This is amazing, right? I've even done it for myself, and I'm blown away by it, right? So you click the button below here, you get your $10 off your deluxe report. It's $98, but you get this incredible report that will last you the entire year. It's incredible. So we've had a lot of generated reports. We got client testimonials here as well too. This will tell you all of the reports that we have as well too. Please check out predictmyastrology.com. It is absolutely incredible. It's AI generated reports, which in many ways, this is actually being better than a lot of other astrologers who may gyp you. And unfortunately, I've had some astrologers who have gypped me, right? I've given them like $150. They give me like a 2 or 3 page report that really tells me nothing. They don't tell me anything in regards to what I can do to remedy these challenges in my chart, how to overcome karma, how about wealth or career or finances. Forget about it. They don't tell you anything. Unfortunately, there's a lot of scammers out there that are claiming to be astrologists, and I've gotten quite a few bogus reports in the past. You will not find that with Predict My Astrology. You're getting detailed and accurate reports based on all of your natal information. So it's incredible. So check that out, predictmyastrology.com. Finally, we go to Readings with Brianne. Now, Brianne has been ill for the past week. She's getting better, so she's starting to get back into her sessions. So feel free to go ahead and check out her website. She does incredible and accurate tarot readings, crystal ball readings as well too. She teaches you about how to create crystal grids. Again, she's doing so much. This is her passion. This is her life, and she's just flowing with it beautifully. And she'll be on next week. So she'll be here next week, and we'll be taking personal readings as well. Okay? All right. Those are our announcements for this episode. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to switch gears, and I'm going to bring Adronis in now. Okay? And he's going to come through, and he's going to be talking more about eclipses. So this is going to be very, very fascinating. Then once we're done, we'll get right into viewer questions. Okay, so please, once again, a reminder for those of you just tuning in, please no personal questions, okay? Semi-personal or general in nature. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll go ahead and bring Adronis in, and we'll get started. Here we go. Clearing the throat first. All right, here we go. Tera Soul Star Sirius Adronis. We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. What we'd like all of you to do at this time is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius, so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all of the information that we shall provide today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. Now, we will speak to you in regards to the eclipses that have been happening this month and the upcoming eclipse that is happening at the end of the month. So on your 14th of March, you had a very powerful lunar eclipse. And the bandwidth of it, the ray of the eclipse, primarily focused on your North and South Americas. That's deliberate. The West is going to be having an explosion of exposures as you start moving forward through the summer, through the fall, well into next year. Powerful exposures. We would say exposures that are going to clean the house of corruption once and for all. And when you're looking at the upcoming partial solar eclipse here on March 29th, it is focusing primarily on the eastern areas of Canada and of the United States, as well as some areas of Western Europe. And that this is specifically focused on government. This is specifically focused on politics. This is specifically focused on revealing great scandals. This is going to cause further outrage. This is going to cause further lying and deceit and deception to those who have committed these particular crimes on your planet. But they're going to be exposed. But as we stated, these particular solar eclipses are designed to clean house, which means they are pulling out all of the falsity. They are pulling out all of the deception. They are ripping out all of the roots that have been heavily embedded emotionally and mentally on the earth, and they are being shown to everybody. These are the deeper roots. You have done a lot of root pulling specifically around the time of the span of change, but these are the roots that go even deeper, which means they're bigger, they're thicker. And you are going to see again the complete and total collapse of what you know the government represents today. So there are going to be operations, there are going to be processes where there are going to be de factos, representing certain branches of government. Many of these particular branches of government, we're not just talking about the West, but we're also talking about the East. Many of them are basically going to be reformed. They are going to be completely and totally de facto, which means your government is going through such an incredible scrubbing down. As you call it, the swamp is basically going to be drained entirely over these next few months, where much of the riffraff and those in that sense who have partaken within the corruption scandals on your planet are all going to be transparent. It is very much transparent right now, but not quite. There's still a little bit of mist. There's still a little bit of tarnish pertaining to these corrupted ones. But after these eclipses take place, it's like looking through plate glass. You're going to see everything very clearly. This is going to lead to revolution. This is going to lead to people standing up, specifically around your western area of the world, as well as looking into the East, specifically around the Western countries of the East, so to speak. So there is going to be a lot of scandals. So if we're looking at the United States, yes, we're looking at Canada, yes, we're looking at Mexico, yes, we're looking at much of South America, yes, we're looking at the United Kingdom, yes, we're looking at Sweden, yes, we're looking at Switzerland, yes, we're looking at Poland, yes, we're looking at all of these different Western countries, again, throughout the European area. These are going to relate to exposures, which means a lot of these particular people that have been secretly exposing themselves, again, speaking in double entendre in many different ways, aren't going to be able to do that anymore. There is going to be a complete and total dismantling of all of these particular systems, which means even your mainstream media in many different ways are going to go through dismantling plus overhaul. Dismantling plus overhaul. Every particular factor of life on your planet that has ran a corruption agenda is going to be scrapped and is going to be overhauled. So you will see that there will be significant changes in media over the next several months right after these eclipses have occurred. Of course, you've already experienced your lunar eclipse, but you still have to experience your partial solar eclipse here on March 29th. Then as you go into September, there are 2 more eclipses in the wings as well. Well, Adronis, what is the purpose of an eclipse? Why do so many things start to change? Why does it feel like a lot of regurgitation of horrible things start to happen after an eclipse takes place? Well, an eclipse is basically, in that sense, causing an obstruction of light upon the planet. And that darkening that takes place is like a focal beam, like a laser, and it penetrates right to the core of the Earth. It's like the Earth is having a type of surgery. And as we've talked about, the Earth is pregnant, and she is about to give birth. So she's having these particular types of eclipse-based surgeries to pull out a great deal of parasites from her body. And they are therefore going to be collected, and they're going to be put into the sun, and they are going to be evaporated. And that is primarily what's going to happen. There's even greater depths. It's like looking at a deeper ocean that represents this tar-like substance, where there is going to be a lesion, and there is a pulling out and extraction of all of that debris that represents that deep tar-like ocean that is being purged from the Earth. It is going to be very, very unsettling to look at, but it needs to happen. You also have to understand that eclipses do not only last days or weeks or months, they last years, which means they continue to bring about this sputum, as it were, that represents everything pertaining to corruptions, scandals, secrecies, and again, exposing this to the public. So when you look at many of these elitists, these globalists, these Kabbalists in that way, feeling that they have some particular type of chance of regaining their authority again, they don't. They have been completely transparent. They have been revealed to the public. They can never have their power again. The only reason why they were able to hold on to authority for so long is because there's been so much darkness and shadow upon your planet. Now that's being lifted. So this dark beam is creating this lesion, and it's pulling out the darkness with darkness. And then it will come into the light, because again, eclipses only last several minutes. Once that's done, once that surgery is complete, everything that is in the bowels of the planet starts to emerge. And then through a course of time, all of that now starts to get pulled out. It is not instantaneous. It is not even quick. It is a long period of transition in between an eclipse to where this information, this insight, these energies need to be pulled out, because it's up to the surface of the planet to transmute it, which means it's up to nature and it's up to yourselves. You have to transmute this. And again, it will firstly start off with a lot of anger, with a lot of upset, but that again is something very beneficial, because you're seeing what was hidden. You're now seeing with your own two eyes what is now being exposed that has been hidden in the depths of the earth for a very long time. Rather, we would say for many centuries. Because again, these layers just keep getting punctured by all of these eclipses that are happening. That's why you have the amount of eclipses taking place every year. They're pulling out more layers. They're going deeper, and they're pulling out even more deeper layers until all of this corruption on your planet is gone. And that is happening swiftly. These layers that are being penetrated are very, very deep. They are not shallow layers. You're going right into the trenches. You're going right into the depths of these darker layers contained within the earth, and they are being pulled out. They are being extracted for all of you to see. And many of you will see that in the way of thinking, oh my goodness, there's nothing but chaos, there's nothing but disorder, there's nothing but horror when we're looking at this. Well, you have to understand that once you look at this and you react to it, the next thing that you're going to move into is looking to resolve this. That's what happens. That's how humanity works. This is why we say that you're very much on the cusp, balancing yourself. You're right on the edge of these extremes, but then again, that great force within you pulls you up and brings you back into the center. That's how humanity works. That's how you're designed. You're designed to dance and teeter on the edge of extremes so that you therefore bounce back and take care of it. That's how humanity has always been and will continue to be. They take the greatest actions when they are teetering on the edge of the greatest extremes. Very important to remember that. So these surgeries, as it were, representing the eclipses taking place, again, your final eclipse for this month of March, on March 29th, will be a game changer. It is going to basically, proverbially, set the entire earth on fire. This is why we say it's proverbial. We're not talking about literal here. But there is going to be a great deal of information that is going to come out of these eclipses that is going to expose everybody around you who has followed corruption, scandals, deceit. You are going to see who people truly are. And it's not just in the nature of government. People in your own lives who may have been manipulating you and deceiving you. You're going to see who they really are. And so therefore it's a matter of transmutation, and it's a matter of revolution, because that is what your 2026 year represents, the year of revolution. Very interesting, wouldn't you say? So, be aware of these eclipses. Again, the eclipse that has taken past, it has already happened, yes, but it's still working. It's still taking place on your planet. It's still pulling out all of this darkness. And then, of course, you have the partial solar eclipse. It is also going to do its duty. Again, primarily focusing on the eastern regions of the Canada and the United States, and of course on the western regions of your eastern world. All right? So be aware of these things. Be aware of what is to come. And again, let yourself respond naturally, because it is going to lead to resolve. It is going to lead to revolution. Hence, the theme of 2026, the year of revolution. We thank you very much, and we will begin your question and answer period. One moment, please. Okay, sorry, this seems to be happening almost every week now. This happened last week as well too. I'll bring Adronis in for a transmission. I'll open my eyes, and all of a sudden I get like a blank browser here. So I had to reset that. I'm hoping everybody got that. I'm told you guys do get it, so we don't miss a beat. But again, this is telling me how desperate YouTube is. I don't know. Whenever there's information about people coming on and exposing scandals and exposing the corrupt, there always seems to be some type of hiccup through the servers, right? So again, I get that feeling of, oh snap, sorry, we crashed. I'm like, well, okay, well, hopefully everybody heard that. So did you guys hear all of that from Adronis, right? Did you get all that information? Hopefully you did, because my browser was offline as soon as I opened my eyes. So you guys can let me know in the comments if you got that okay, if you heard everything. There was no skip or anything of that nature? Yeah, we got it. Okay, great. Thank you for letting me know. Want to make sure I don't have to do this over again. We don't have to do a do-over again. That would suck. Okay, great. Excellent. So let's go ahead and move on to questions right now. So as always, I'm going to start off with donation-based questions, and then we'll go into free questions after that. So we're going to start off with open contact here. Now, like I said, I'm on OBS software, so I can't pin the comments onto the screen, unfortunately. But I'm just going to read them out as they come in. So this one here is from Open Contact. Can Adronis tell us the current situation of the Cabal's demise as we speak in terms of how fast they're losing their power on planet Earth? Adronis has basically just covered that through the eclipses, right? So when we're looking at the nature of the eclipses that are taking place, they're lending a helping hand, right? They're not some beautiful rainbow thing, right? They are pulling out a lot of darkness on the planet. But this is what Adronis was just saying, is that over the next few months, you're going to see a complete and total cleaning of house of the corrupt, right? It is going to be complete and total cleaning of house. So that's happening over the next few months, okay? Like I said, before we reach 2030, I would say in the great majority, we're seeing the corrupt no longer having that influence on the planet. Are there still going to be some corrupt people on the planet? Well, of course. But are they going to be leading authority channels? No, hardly at all when we get to 2030, okay? So that's basically what's happening. We have this 2025, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. We have these 6 years. So these 6 years need to happen in the way that they do, and that's pretty approximate because eclipses take about that 3, 4, 5 year total run to pull out everything that needs to be pulled out, right? These are basically leaving scars on the earth. Whenever you have eclipses, you're seeing these lesions, these surgeries that are taking place upon the planet. As I've said, as Adronis was just saying as well too, it's like the Cabal can no longer regain its power. It's impossible. Can't be done. You cannot try to deceive people when there's no lies left, right? You have no lies left to share. Everything's being exposed. Everything's being transparent. Everything's being clear. You can't rule in that way, right? And that is how they have been able to thrive for so long. Because if we're going back several decades, Earth was very much a thicker shell of where clandestine nature could stay intact. But that's not happening anymore. All that clandestine nature is now starting to thin and thin and thin. And now it's starting to feel as clear as plate glass. They can't hide anymore, right? They cannot run anymore. The society is now so incredibly sophisticated that they are not able to take back their power. So they're basically trying to hold on to their thrones as much as possible. But you got tons and tons of people just behind them, just yanking them right off their throne. So no, they're not going to last. And I would say the entire authority network that have represented corrupt leaders is going to be, like I said, greatly reduced. I would say well about 90-95% as we reach 2030. Okay, so we still got a few years to see all of this fall apart, but I would say that right now we're probably looking at maybe 60%, 70, 80, 90, 95, right? Maybe by 2001, 2031, 2032, we start to see them completely out of power altogether. So these next 5 or 6 years are extremely important, and we're seeing leaders collapse. Unfortunately, my friends, it takes time for the human race to realize what's going on. I don't really need to tell you that. We kind of see how many people are still asleep. We still kind of see the sleepers. But the good news is that it's starting to, tip the scales a little bit. We're starting to see more people actually come into the awoken state rather than being asleep. So more and more people are waking up every single day, and that's a wonderful thing. But like I said, when you look at these particular types of dramas that are happening on the television, on the internet, and so forth, these are stories. These are stories to try to awaken people out of their slumber. It's stories for the sleepers, right? And I know the majority of my people on the YouTube channel here are not sleepers. They're awakeners, right? So we all have a job to do, my friends. We're the ones that have to go around and just start talking to people. Even if that's the last thing they want to hear, you're still planting seeds, right? And Lord knows I've had to do that many times. Just planting seeds. Like, guys, seriously, get off this whole run around and thinking that politicians are going to save you, right? Does not matter who is in office. That person is in office because of the people, right? If it's a good leader, that leader is in office because of the people. If there's progress, it's because the people are supporting it. The people are behind it. The people are what run things, right? And we're so unconscious of that. We have to remember that. We're the ones that are running things. It's not the leaders. The leaders are just being representatives. We're the ones putting them there. We have to remember that. Because that's not just through the idea of physicality, of looking at how things are physically going on. That is, again, our mentality, our emotional states, right? The higher subtle states of us are putting these particular people in power. We're the ones running the show. Always have been, always will be, right? All that's happening is they're trying to manipulate the herd. I get enough of the herd, I get enough of the sheep that are asleep. Well, I can just put them in this pasture. Now we get all this charge. Now I can completely siphon all of this energy off of all of this cattle that are completely oblivious to what's going on, and so I'm using their power without them knowing about it. That's exactly how the corrupt have been able to rule, right? In the times past, we have had corrupt officials basically gathering the herds, putting them in these pastures, or rather I'd say around these gates, and then just siphoning the energy off of them. Yes, you want this. This is what you want. Yes, we want this. This is what we want, right? And they're able to siphon all that energy. So the collective consciousness through the majority of people on this planet for decades has been siphoned to create these scandals, to create this war, to create poverty, to create everything. We have given our silent obedience for this because we have been manipulated, we have been hypnotized, we have been used in this way. So basically, in that sense, we're all hypnotic victims in that way. But like I said, there is no difference between a victim and an aggressor. They both stay on the same level. We have to snap out of victimhood. We have to snap out of this hypnosis and start leading ourselves, right? Again, leaders are just being an example. They're just being a representation. We have the power to lead ourselves, but we got to get out of the hypnosis trance first. That's first and foremost. Then you can start creating miracles. The miracles start coming together. And you know what, guys? It is the easiest thing in the world to create miracles because I've created many of them, right? I know how to do it like a science. And it is a science. That's the best way. You have to eliminate doubt. You have to come into trust. You have to see yourself as the center. You have to see yourself as the source, right? And through that, that's where trust needs to go. Trust needs to happen. Distrust needs to go. Disbelief, doubt, hesitation, fear of yourself, all of that has to go. And that's what I've been researching for the past near 17 years, is looking onto all this. And I have it down to a science. I can manifest miracles. It's a wonderful thing. Just wanting to intend something to come next day, here it comes. Wow, that's great. That's amazing. I just start talking about it, and all of a sudden, it comes here. And I talk to many of you, and a lot of you are starting to manifest miracles, but you're not aware of the science of how you can do it all the time. And that's something so beautiful, right? We have to get all this poison out of ourselves. We got to get this hypnosis out of ourselves. Once we start doing that, miracles are abound. It's a beautiful thing. All right, so open contact. Thank you very much for your question. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's go to XX Starboy XX. Love the name. He asks, hello, Brad and Adronis. If Adronis can make a comment on the world's youngest and poorest country, South Sudan, that would be appreciated. What do you mean? The poorest country, South Sudan. Well, I'm not really too sure what comment you want to make, because you've basically already made a comment on South Sudan. Okay. But Adronis will tune into it, and we'll look into that a little bit more. Okay. Well, we can look at many different things that say this is the poorest country. I don't think there really is such a thing, right? I don't think there really is such a thing as a poorest country, because there's a lot of other countries that are in that particular phase. And I think that if you're looking at the nature of what is the poorest, you're looking at something that's based on perspective of how you choose to see that particular country. Okay, but we'll look into the nature of South Sudan and see what comes up with what Adronis wants to share of it. Okay, one moment. We thank you very much for your question about the country that you term as South Sudan. When you are looking at the nature of South Sudan, even though there is a great deal of impoverishment, it would not represent what you would consider to be the poorest country. The poorest country, we would suggest, are ones that are actually hypnotized by much of your cabals to basically give a lot of their resources and even their minds and their hearts to deceit. That would actually be the poorest country. So, what are some examples of some pretty poor countries that represent that? Israel, United States, Canada, Belgium, Sweden, Australia. Those are poor countries. They're poor countries not because of the level of their impoverishment, but because of the hypnotism that is affecting their masses to utilize their resources to take away everything pertaining to their nature of personal choice and personal decision and personal freedom, and giving that to the corrupt so that they can utilize that for manipulative ends that will only lead to greater impoverishment. That's the true impoverishment. We certainly don't look at South Sudan as the most poor country. So this again is where interpretation differs. You think it's a poor country because there's so much impoverishment, because people are starving, because there's really nothing there. That's not impoverishment. That's not a poor country in regards to the impoverishment that we're talking about. The poor countries are the ones that have people en masse that are giving their power away to evil ends. That's a poor country. So that's where our particular perspective differs from yours. When you're looking at countries in that sense that may be starved, that may be again impoverished, yes, there are situations there that unfold, but again, this is why the world will look at South Sudan and see exactly what it represents and will want to help it, because South Sudan will be getting help. They will be going through reorientation. They will be overhauled, because as more and more people see what South Sudan is going for, they will want to help. But the true impoverishment we're talking about is when people en masse are giving all of their power away to corrupt officials who do not deserve it. That is a poor country. So we certainly don't look at South Sudan as a poor country. We see that it certainly has challenges, yes, but it will be getting assistance. It will be getting help to help it along, to help it become renourished. But it is not a poor country, because the people there actually have a lot more connection to their inner self than, in fact, many other people throughout the world. That's not a poor country. A country with challenges, yes, but not poor. That's what we can share about South Sudan. All right? We thank you very much for your question. Okay. That's a great perspective from Adronis. It kind of ties in with mine. But like I said, it's not so much about looking at a country that's starving, impoverished. It's a horrible thing that's happening. But like I said, the truly impoverished countries are the people in that sense who do not tune into themselves, who will just give their power to these corrupt officials who are becoming so transparent right now, where it's just so obvious of what they're trying to do. And they're basically just trying to rob you blind. That's a poor country. I agree with Adronis 100% on that. So this is where we need to kind of exercise our definitions of things, right? Countries that are seen in regards to having hardly anything, when a lot of eyes are being shown on them, that's going to change, okay? But seeing exactly these big thriving countries where there's so much industry being built, there's so much innovation being built, but the majority of people there are just giving their powers to these corrupt leaders, that's a poor country. So completely in agreement with that. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Thank you, Starboy, for your question. Okay, let's go to Krati. Krati says, India is moving towards autocracy. People are becoming slaves to the government and elites here. People are divided on lines of religion. Any hope? It's exactly as Adronis just said, right? People are sorting themselves out. This is something that we've talked about for quite some time. This is why we say everything's going into division. There's going to be divisions. There's going to be groups. It's like you're looking at the entire country of India and you're drawing lines, right? Here's a line here that represents people who are very much into automation and very much into technology, right? Here's some people who are aristocratic. Here's some people that are deeply religious. Now, Hinduism is not a religion, okay? So I want to put that out in the way first, okay? Hinduism is not a religion. It's been mistaken as that, but it's not, okay? Hinduism, the nature of Hinduism is the nature of the people that are Hindu. Hindu are people. It's not a religion, okay? So that's a very important thing we have to understand. When we look at the Jewish people are not a religion. They are a people. When we look at the Japanese, they're not a religion, they're a people. When we look at the Hindu, they are not a religion, they are a people, right? So this is the whole idea, is that they're sharing their way of life. They're sharing their own natural philosophies with people. And therefore, we call that a religion. Oh, because it's based on certain types of beliefs and so forth. It's through a people, right? It's not based upon the nature of religion. Now, Krati, you have been on this broadcast many times, and I have talked many times about what is happening in this current phase currently on the planet, right? There is going to be strife. What do you think Adronis just talked about pertaining to the eclipses, okay? We're seeing surgery. We've seen this surgery happening for such a long time, and we're seeing all of this debris coming out. The truth has to be revealed. You are going to see dividing lines throughout countries, throughout nations. You're going to see all of these things start to happen, where people are basically drawing a line in the sand and say, everybody that's like me, follow me over here. Or everybody that's like me, follow me over here. And you have these groups. And these groups are being assembled so that people can see in much more clarity what is happening with the planet. And then even though there might be fights, even though there may be problems, all of those particular types of problems and fights that are happening are going to become resolved, because people are going to be putting their petty differences aside and they're going to start working together. These things need to happen. These lines in the sand need to be drawn, because they're giving you transparency about what's actually happening in the world. Where you think that everything's okay and everything's tipsy-turvy or everything's bright like rainbows. It's not. You are seeing the world as it truly is. Where there are problems, resolution will follow. And that will be by the world working together. But people are going to go into their own groups right now because they're angry, because they're pissed off, because they're upset, because they're sad, because they feel in despair, and they're going to start branching off, and you're going to see the world where it truly stands. And this is repopulation, not depopulation. This is repopulation. All of these different groups coming upon the planet showing you exactly what they're all about. And there may be those who want to cooperate, and there may be those who will not. And the ones who won't cooperate are basically just going to keep walking a path of separation where the rough edges of life are going to continue to poke at them, right? The rocky roads are going to get more intense. If you keep walking a path of separation, my friends, you're not going to make it. That's just the truth of the matter, because that's not where the earth is going. The earth is not following a separation consciousness path. She's following a unification path. You either unify with her, or you walk down the separation path and you fall away. Right? Apologize for being blunt, my friends, but that's what's happening. It's like the Titanic analogy, like I've said many times. We have people who are on these rescue boats who want to reach out their hand. People are smacking it away. Get the F away from me. The government will take care of my problem. This leader will take care of my problem. This group I'm a part of will take care of my problem. Or I'll take care of my problem even though you don't know what you're doing. And they stay on the ship and they handcuff themselves to the rails and they go down with the ship. This is everything that needs to happen. Don't try to change what needs to happen through the transparency that takes place. Just be loving, be compassionate, but compassion is not about control. To be a compassionate person, you are not controlling. To be a loving person, you are not controlling. You are here, you are present, you are open, you are willing, you are liberated. That's what it means to be loving and compassionate. And you're always holding out your hand. Even if a person slaps it away, it's still here. It doesn't stop. You're still right here. Come on, take my hand. I'm still here. I'm still here. And that's what will happen. You'll get smacks away of your hand. But if you're truly loving and compassionate, your hand is always there. Because that's how Spirit works with you. Many of you have slapped God across the face. Because you don't feel that God is as divine as you believe God to be. Right? You think God needs to be blamed for all the wars on the planet, for all the suffering on the planet. That's you constantly smacking God's hand against you, away from you. But the hand is still there. The hand of Spirit is always there for you. It never leaves, no matter how many times you smack it away. When you're looking at India, when you're looking at all these, it's not just India, my friends, it's all these countries. All these countries have lines drawn in the sand. They're all just drawing their lines because everybody wants to stand here, right? This is how I feel about equal fairness. This is how I feel about, gender. This is how I feel about sexuality. This is how I feel about money. This is how I feel about business. This is how I feel about this. This is how I feel about that. Here's what I feel about Christianity. Here's what I feel about Catholicism. And it just goes on. And it's just more and more piles of groups. The earth is showing you what the world is really like. And there are those who will be problem solvers, who will work to bring about unification to these groups, and there will be some of these groups that will fade away because they continue to walk a path of separation consciousness, and that is not where the earth is going. The earth is moving into unity consciousness, not separation. Do you guys know what the age of Aquarius is? It's a time of interconnectedness. It is not about going down here and watching humanity plummet. It is about rising up. And all of that excess weight that's been keeping humanity down is going to fade away. This is repopulation. Repopulation is cleaning those souls who can be cleaned, those souls who can see a new light, those souls who are no longer subscribing to the idea of an oriented group or faction to where they think that that's what life is all about, where they again subscribe to the idea of the external, where they go into heavy beliefs and it poisons them. And it may have to be again and again, lifetime after lifetime, that you have to go through that poison. My friends, we've all been there. I have recollections of lifetimes where I've eaten so much poison and I've had to go back again and again and again to finally get it right. And I can say the same for every single one of you that's watching. You have had poisonous lifetimes. You have been just like them, if not worse. But you've had to come back again and again to clean yourself, to clean your soul. That's what's happening. And it's such a tally-up point of what's taking place right now here in the mid-2020s. It's a tally-up point where we now have this surge that's coming in. The momentum is so strong. And there are those of us who realize, I need to get myself together, because this is going to be a very extreme time. This is going to be a time where separation consciousness is going to die. This is going to be a time where you really need to learn to take self-responsibility, or you're not going to make it. By saying you're not going to make it, it means that everything else in your life is going to be rougher. Because over these next few years, this intensification of great anger and great inflammation upon the planet is going to get worse. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you will be left behind. I can guarantee you that. This is why it's so important to get yourself together. And we're seeing it. You don't just have to take my word for it. Look at the world. Look at what's happening around you. And there's the proof from the pudding right there. And the key is to work on yourself. That's what I've been trying to do for the past 17 years of my life, is not only work on myself, but also helping people along the way that need that help as well. Right? Not just me, but many others like me as well too. And that's great. I'm so happy that there are others here that are offering that help. Right? The people that need help are many, but the people who can really help are few. Right? This is why we're trying to do the best that we can. There's those of us that come here that are simply here for this reason, just to help humanity along, to share in the ways that we do, and to help along as we can. So there you have it. There's my own 2 cents on that. Maybe a penny and a half, I guess you could say. Okay, thank you, Claudia, for your question. Okay. So this one here is from Solstice. Solstice says, hi, Adronis, can you elaborate on any other spiritual bodies of humans that exist aside from the etheric, astro, and causal? Okay, one moment. We thank you very much, Solstice, for your question. Truthfully, you don't have any bodies. Bodies are an instrument. They are not the true nature of you. What you are truly is bodiless. You are essence. You are the source. That's your nature. Anytime you're playing with the instrumentation of bodies, you're simply working with a vessel to help understand the nature of experience, to help you understand how to function in this domain. Because once you leave that domain, all of this information that you have received upon bodies is pointless. Did you know that? Once you leave the physical body because you've been so obsessed with it, and now it completely expires, you leave, and everything you wanted to acquire about that body does you no good, because you're not in that body anymore. And that's what people continue to focus upon. What about my body? What about my health? What about my wealth? What about my bank account? What about my family? What about my car? What about my house? What about my mortgage payment? And then you drop dead. And none of that matters. None of it matters. Which means you've spent very little of your time actually looking into who and what you truly are. So we can look at a physical body. We can look at an astral body. We can look at a causal body. We can look at an emotional body. We can look at a mental body. We can look at an Akashic body. We can look at a karmic body. We can look at a manifestation body. We can look at a soul body. We can look at a light body. We can look at an etheric body, but none of it matters. Because that is not who and what you are. That's an instrument that you're working with. We're not saying for you to have some form of information pertaining to the bodies, but you spend so much of your time obsessing over bodies rather than looking at who and what you truly are as source, as spirit, as the divine. Why do you think so many of your ancient teachers have told you to let go of this fascination with the bodies? Because you can't take it with you. It's not something that lasts. The only thing that lasts is who and what you are as essence, as source, as spirit. That's what should take up the majority of your time, rather than obsessing about all these different layers of bodies. Because this is why we say, truly, you are bodiless. You are mindless. Now, we're not saying not to use the body and not to use the mind, but utilize it in the form of a support system. For example, if you know that you are fixing a car, maybe you're fixing a flat tire, and so you have certain apparatuses that you utilize. You have a wrench, you have so forth, and you're utilizing those things. Now the tire has been changed. The tire is back on. You don't need to keep carrying that toolbox and start stroking it, believing that this is who you are. Because that is an analogy that's giving you the idea of that's exactly what you're doing with your bodies. You're stroking it. You can't leave it alone. You're looking at all this money, and again, that just relates to another body. That relates to an ego body. I don't have enough money. I can't pay my rent. I can't do this. I can't do that. And again, it all relates to the nature of your body. Thinking that you are impaired. So, we could go about and look at many different layers of bodies for you. But as we stated, it really doesn't matter. So as we talked about, yes, there's the physical body. Yes, there's the astral body. Yes, there's the causal body. Yes, there's an emotional body. Yes, there's a mental body. Yes, there's a light body. Yes, there's an etheric body. Yes, there's a soul body. So on, so on, so on, so on. And many of you start creating more and more layers to it. Oh, well, there's a sub-astral body. And then there's a sub-density aspect of the emotional body. And you just keep slicing this like a big log of cheese, and you keep slicing it down and giving it all these new definitions. How about you just look at the log of cheese rather than giving it these slices all the time? Because that is left brain science. It is not the science of the right brain. The right brain sees the entire log. Left brain can't do it because it's too obsessed with compartmentalizing everything. And because you've given the left brain power, that's how you choose to look at the world, and you're blind by doing that. This is why many of you are so shocked about what's happening upon the planet right now, because you keep looking at everything through the left hemisphere of the brain and not the right. When you look at everything through the right hemisphere of the brain, you see what is actually transpiring upon the earth. And we will tell you, it is not a frightening time. It's an enlightening one. But many of you don't see it that way, because you keep looking at these slices of the log of cheese. Oh, but that's a horrible part of the cheese right there. Look at it, it looks decayed and all that. While you're looking at that little slice, you don't see the entire log, because you keep looking at thin little slices. And you keep looking at Earth in that way just by a couple of slices, rather than looking at the entire log. Because what we are telling you here, from our perspective, from our point of view, is your Earth is not going into calamity, it's moving into higher states of enlightenment. But you don't see it. You think everything is tragedy. And everything is travesty. And there's separation consciousness. And you're only seeing that because it's mirroring how you see yourself. Period. And that's why. And you obsess over the bodies. So, we can tell you a whole bunch of the different types of layers of bodies all together. Again, a lot of these other bodies are being invented by your culture all the time. But that doesn't really matter. Focus on the bodiless. Focus on the formless. Focus on the source of yourself. That is the greatest reward. All right? We thank you for your question. Something to think about, my friends, right? We keep thinking that the world is going down spiral, and those are people that are looking at the slices of cheese rather than looking at the whole log. You cannot see the forest for the trees. You have to see the bigger picture. If you are incapable of seeing the big picture, then you are incapable of knowing what's actually happening on this planet. Brad, have you seen the big picture? I certainly have. Why do you think I'm coming on here, completely in a state of nonchalant calmness while all this stuff is happening? None of the stuff on this planet is bothering me one bit because I see what's happening. And if there's something that I'm confused by, I go within and I go into the right brain. And I look, oh, that's what's going on, right? There may be certain things that I'm not aware of. Then I go ahead and I go in the right brain and I look, oh, well, there's the whole log of cheese. That's what's going on, right? And if we don't do that, my friends, then you are lost in victimhood pertaining to the slices of the left brain. That's why I try to teach so many of you how to go into the right hemisphere of the brain. This is something that everyday people should know, but we don't, right? We're too reliant on this stupidest part of our brain, and that's the left brain. Left brain is the stupidest part. It really is. It doesn't reap reward. It doesn't bring about the energies that help us to evolve, right? It has forgotten its place as a unity consciousness. It's the whole idea that when you work with the right brain, the left brain falls in line. It works together. It harmonizes together. The left brain becomes the messenger. The right brain is the king. It's the queen, right? And if we don't see it that way, we're going to continue to be lost. You're not doing this for my sake, my friends. You're doing this for your own, right? This is something that you have to look into because I've discovered it. That's why I teach it, okay? El Gwim says, your sound is low. Guys, can you hear me okay? Is there a problem with my sound? Is nobody able to hear me? Please leave a comment in the chat. Am I muted to everybody? Can everybody hear me? Okay, I'm getting some hearts here. Okay. Some say it's low. Some say we hear you. If it's low, guys, please turn up your volume. Okay. Some people are able to hear me fine. My microphone is maxed to the limit here. So there we go. If I talk like this, is this loud enough for everybody? Okay, yeah, a lot of people are saying I'm loud and clear. So my friends, if you have a hard time hearing me, please turn up your volume. Okay, or wear some headphones. Okay, you should be able to hear me okay. I can't appease everybody, of course, with their technology, right? A lot of our technology sucks. So what can I say? But hopefully you can hear me. Just please turn up the volume if you need to. Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay, so Solstice, you've asked 2 questions. I really like to try and keep this just a 1 question each, even for donators. Okay, I'll do your question this time, but even so, people, if you've already donated once, I'm not going to do a second question with you, okay? I want to try and give other people a chance. But I'll do it this time for Solstice. Hi, Adronis, what specifically determines how pets evolve in their future incarnations, especially in order to attain a human life? Adronis has already talked about this, okay? Well, first of all, we don't really call them pets, okay? Because they're not pets. Would you like it if somebody called you a pet? I don't think so. Animal companions evolve quite commonly based upon their interaction with humans. If they want to seek to be human in lifetimes ahead, then their karmic arrangement on the planet will enable them to have human contact, right? So like I have my little cat Gizmo here, And if he chooses to, then he would have all of the appropriate experience to decide to move into human consciousness in another lifetime, because he's had that association with humans. There's times too where I'm speaking to Gizmo and he hears me. He knows exactly what I'm talking about, right? He is also a very telepathic cat. So if I send something to him, if he's outside and I think about him, he jumps right through the window. We have a little open window that he comes in and he's there, right? He has that human coherence to himself. That's what animals have to do. And there are animals who want nothing to do with humans, and they'll basically just stay in the wild, and they won't have any particular type of contact with them. And there are those who do, and that basically becomes domesticated animal companions. I don't like to use the word pets. Okay, sometimes I'll use it in a crunch, but I don't like that. Right? How would I feel if someone called me a pet? Right? It's not going to feel good. So we do that because we think that animals are on a lower consciousness than not, and they're not. Okay, they are very intelligent. If anything, animals are much more higher up in regards to connecting with the earth and interconnectedness than the average human is. And I say the average human. Okay, they're actually much more ahead of us in many ways. So it's all based upon their relationship and connection and contact with humans. And through that gives them the opportunity for something like that for them to incarnate. Like I said, my friends, you as soul are everyone and everything. You're a human being, you're animal, you're mineral, you're plant, you're element, you're extraterrestrial. It's all these things. You're angelic, your planets, your stars, your galaxies, and so forth and so on. Okay, it all happens because the soul has no discrimination about the type of life it chooses to follow, right? If it chooses to follow a certain life, it's because there is an element there that represents a nurturing state of growth for the entity soul, right? We look at two different types of soul. We have entity soul and we have the oversoul, right? The oversoul really does not partake of physical incarnation at all. It's like a viewer that is standing in front of a beehive that has these infinite amount of monitors showing other lifetimes to where it's just observing. And then you have the entity soul, where the entity soul wants to grow. The entity soul wants to expand. It's like our personality consciousness, right? Our personality wants to see so much. It wants to explore and expand so much. And that is what we would refer to as the entity soul. Adronis has put it this way: the oversoul and the entity soul. Truly, it's just one. It really is just the oversoul itself. But the entity soul, again, is this projection. It's this projection of personality that we've nurtured, right? We've given it that validation. And it wants to grow. It wants to expand. It wants to explore. It wants to experience. It wants to see all these different facets of life. And we follow more so the entity soul than the oversoul. The oversoul doesn't give a damn about any of those things. It's just the observer looking at an infinite amount of monitors, hence beehives, for eternity. It just witnesses everything. That's the nature of the oversoul, right? But again, this projection of the entity soul is just a branch, a projection of the oversoul. So there you go. We all have that. All life has that. Okay, so hope that helps. Okay. So EUM142, hi Brad, what's the best way to get rid of heel pain brought on by bone spurs without constant use of custom orthotics? Well, again, I can't give you medical advice, okay? So the best way to get rid of heel pain is the white light breath, okay? Working with the white light breath, working with etherics, working with trauma transcendence technique, because that's helping to clear things away. And I'm not telling you guys to avoid doctors or to avoid medical professionals. You need to go see them if you need to, right? If it's something that's very, very important, you need to go see it. You need to go see them, right? Maybe there's certain things that need to come out. If there's bone chips, for example, then you may need to have surgery and get that taken care of. So I'm not in any way telling anybody to ignore medical professionals, okay? They have their role to play. But like I said, if we know that maybe our money is limited and we want to try and get help with ourselves, maybe we know people who can help out who are also medical professionals who will do it freely. Or again, we're learning how to work together with energy medicine, and that can help in the meantime. Okay, so white light breath, that would be my suggestion altogether. Okay. Krati says you aren't talking about specifically India. Yeah, when we're going back into the India question, no, I'm utilizing that as a particular question. But as I talked about India, we're looking at, like I said, the Hindu that are a people. Maybe I got off track because I was looking at many different things. But no, as far as, because I've talked about India before, India has a prosperous time ahead of itself, and I've even done readings on India. Yes, these things in India are happening, where there's a bunch of groups forming themselves in India, where there's aristocrats, where there's autocracy, and so forth. India is going to be moving into a new India, okay? So a lot of it is not going to be of the past. A lot of what India is thriving towards is going to be towards a new future, but it is not going to lose its spiritual heart, right? I have talked about India before. Krati, you've been on here many times, and you've heard me talk about India, right? And it's just the same thing I have to say again, because that's exactly what I'm getting. If I'm even going to go ahead and pull out the Akasha and take a look at India once more, because I've already done it, but we'll do it again, okay? I'm seeing prosperity. I'm seeing a time where this separation consciousness, where these factions, where these groups need to come out, and India is going to be rebuilt. India is going to be made into a new land, but it's not taking away its spiritual heart. Its spiritual heart is always going to remain. Its spiritual heart has remained for many thousands of years. It's not the end of it, right? But there's going to be changes in culture. There's going to be changes in innovation. There are going to be changes in politics. There are going to be changes of how things are run in India, right? That's why there's these separations. That's why there's these lines in the sand, right? But from what I can see here, it's going to be a prosperous time for India. It needs to get all the stuff out in the open that has been causing decay through India so that it can be addressed and cleared away. Because as I talked about earlier, everything that's happening right now is coming in the state of groups so that you can see exactly what's happening. Is there going to be some aristocrats still in India? Yes. Is there going to be autocracy in India? Yes. There's going to be a lot of technological booms in India. Okay? It is going to be a technologically developed country in the next little while. Right? But it still has not lost its spiritual heart. Right? There are still going to be enough of that culture to remain to keep the spiritual heart of India beating. Okay? But these horrible things, as we've seen, need to happen so that we can resolve problems. Right? Krati, does that answer your question? Okay? I've talked about India before. You've asked about it before. I've given you answers about it before. Even when I've looked into the tarot, I'm saying I don't see a bad time for India. I see a good time for India. All this stuff needs to come together. Now, it may just be that you're not satisfied with my answer. I can't help you there. But that's what I'm getting here from the perspective. India is going to be okay. Okay? It's going to go through changes, but it needs to make these changes. I can't tell you what you want to hear. That all this is going to go away and we'll go back into pure 100% spiritual India. Not going to happen. Okay? It's going to be technocratic. It's going to be innovative. It is going to be a power center for technology. It's going to have a lot of AI development with it. It is going to have a lot of autocracy to it. But it still has its spiritual heart beating. Right? So I say, India is going to become a new country. It's going to be overhauled. So that's what I can share about it. Okay? Let's go on further to Nina here. Nina says, hi Brad, if this is the correct venue to ask why Vedic astrology is more accurate than Western astrology. I did your AI Vedic Deluxe report, and I cannot believe how accurate it is. Well, that's great. You know, I'm not the one that invented this saying, of course, of saying that Vedic astrology is more accurate. I have studied both systems. Before I got into Vedic astrology, I was actually looking into a few Western astrology books, and I would run my chart, and I was never in agreement of how Western astrology saw my chart, of how that my planets were arranged and everything. And I was in so much disagreement with what the Western astrology said for my chart personally. So I did not like Western astrology because I found it to be very inaccurate. And I proved that through my own chart, right? It's saying that I'm an Aries and I'm hot-headed and I'm a people person and I work together in a team. I'm like, no, that's not me at all. I'm much more of a lone wolf. I'm much more independent. I'm much more of an entrepreneur. I have a temper, right? But I wouldn't say I'm a big hothead. But Some of you have seen that on occasion, where I may sometimes lose my patience, but that's okay, right? But no, I don't conduct myself in the world like that majority. So there's just a lot of other things as well too that I just didn't agree with relating to Western astrology. And then as I started to study Vedic astrology, what I noticed is the difference here. Okay, so Western astrology, when we're looking at the tropical zodiac will follow the alignments of solstices and equinoxes. Unfortunately, that is an inaccurate way to follow astrology, but that is how the tropical zodiac system works. They work with equinoxes, and they work with solstices in regards to the natures of alignments. But those alignments aren't always accurate because they can be constantly changing. And we may also have inaccuracies pertaining to appropriate coordinates based upon equinox and solstice activity. And what Vedic astrology does, and it follows much more of the accurate system, is they follow the elliptical path. Okay? The elliptical path is like 99.9% accurate. Okay? So when we look at the sidereal system gets its coordination through the elliptical path. Okay? And that is much more of the accuracy pertaining to that, which means they're basically following the path of the constellations themselves upon the elliptical, which is accurate because those stars are staying there. Okay? So that is much more of the accuracy that Vedic astrology has. And when I look at my charts, because I've compared them, I've compared my Western astrology readings and my Vedic astrology readings. And Vedic astrology is so much more accurate into what I know myself to be. Right? And I'm just speaking for myself. I can't speak for anybody else. So that's why the tropical and the sidereal, they follow two entirely different systems. Right? There's also Chinese astrology, which is pretty good. I haven't looked into it that much. Brienne has experience with Chinese astrology, but I just haven't really looked into it. They operate in a completely different system as well too. But again, out of all of the systems that I've been exposed to, Vedic astrology is by far the most accurate. Okay, because they do follow the elliptical path. That's the sidereal system, and I've found that to be far more accurate in readings. Okay, so I basically utilize the Lahiri chart, and that again is there's several other different particular types of charts, but I'll work with Lahiri because that also gives, again, profound accuracy to the alignment of the planets and a lot of the interpretations that's contained in the reports. Right? So I love it. Vedic astrology is certainly my choice. That's why I use it for Predict My Astrology. Okay? I'm not a fan of Western astrology. Nothing against it. I'm just not a fan of it. It's just not accurate enough. So anyways, and I think it's because there's like 20 some odd degrees of incompatibility. This is why when some people look at their Western charts and compare to their Vedic, right, someone who thinks they're Aries is actually a Pisces, right? Or someone who thinks they're a Pisces is actually an Aquarian, and so forth. But they don't also rely on the sun signs. This is why our Western astrology is also very distorted. You're basically just spewing your sun sign to people. Oh, I'm a Cancer, I'm a Leo, I'm a Virgo, I'm a Capricorn. No. Vedic astrology doesn't do that. If we were to look at two very important points that Vedic astrology looks at, it's your ascendant and it's your moon. Okay, it's not your sun. Okay. I mean, all planets basically have an importance to them, but we have been brainwashed in this culture of thinking that if you're looking into astrology, oh, what's your sun? What's your sign? What's your sign? Are you a Leo? Are you a Cancer? Are you a Virgo? And that's inaccurate, right? It's looking at the sun sign. And Jyotish, the Jyotish do not look at that in that way. They always would look at your ascendant and your moon. So there you go. Very interesting things to look into. Okay, so thank you very much for your question there, Nina. And I'm glad that the report is working well for you. I'm blown away by these AI-generated reports because they're so huge. They're big. They give so much detail, and I love it. I'm a detail-oriented person, so I love that detail. It's fantastic, and it's blown away any other particular past astrology readings I've gotten from so-called astrologists. Right? I was not impressed with it. I'm like, can I get a refund? This is like terrible. They don't even answer your questions. They don't tell you about your career appropriately. They don't tell you about remedies. They don't tell you about rituals. They don't tell you about working with mantras. Whereas Predict My Astrology does that, and it's in abundance as well too. So I love it. I love the way that the AI puts everything together so neatly. It's wonderful. If you haven't tried it yet, like I said, you're missing out. You're going to have a great time. Okay, I did have a donation here from Hannah Chen, but I don't see a question from Hannah. So Hannah, maybe you can put your question down if you're still here. I'll see if I can find it later on. I'm just going to go back up to the top here. How are we doing on time here? Oh, we only got a few minutes. Okay, let's see if we can take a couple more questions, and we're going to wrap up. Okay. Gijo Matthew here has a question at the top of the chat. Adronis, what can you tell us about Saint Germain? Okay. Now, guys, please remember that, like I said, what Adronis shares is his perspective, his point of view. What I've noticed with some people is when they ask this question, they're really only expecting to hear what they've already known. And Adronis can disappoint you a lot of times, okay? Please remember that if you ask these questions, whether it's through me or whether it's through Adronis, we're always going to give you the truth, okay? We're not here to sugarcoat stuff. We're not here to try and take it easy on you. In regards to this question, you answer us a straight question. We are going to give you a straight answer based on our perspective, our point of view, okay? That's a bit of a disclaimer. If you guys want to ask a question that you want to know the answer to, yes. I say this because people ask me questions, and then when I give them the answer, they're horrified, right? It's terrible. How can you say that? So you asked the question. Here's the answer. If you don't believe me, fine. Put it on the shelf. Go look into it yourself. And then some of them do, and they realize that is the correct answer, and they have some decisions to make, right? So anyways, let's go ahead and look at Gijo. Like I said, that's just a disclaimer. Look at Gijo's question about Saint Germain. Okay, one moment. We thank you very much, Gijo, for your question. And again, as Brad aptly put, the importance of the disclaimer. Saint Germain is a charlatan. All right? It is not what you would know as an occult teacher. And the reason why we say this is he's actually spent much of his life scamming people. He was under the impression that he was a noble, or again, truthful occultist when he did nothing of the sort. So basically, when you're looking at these Saint Germains or Lord Sanandas or Ashtars in that particular way, all imposters. Now, it's not to say that there isn't a real Ashtar, there is, but there are imposters. It's not to say that Sananda, in that sense, does not represent the collective consciousness as the one that you would know as Jesus or Yeshua. There is that, but Sananda is a decoy. Saint Germain is believed to be a noble and wise occultist. Wrong. He was much more of a charlatan. He would basically cause problems. And that would be in the idea of providing false information to people, because he was much more of a businessman than an occultist. Unfortunately, many people who have looked into these things, who feel that these are wise divine beings, will often realize that when they try to communicate with them, they will get what's often referred to as one-way relays, where they may receive a transmission that they really can't do anything with. They may preach about love and light and utilizing the violet flame and so on and so forth, but it only reaches a means to an end. It is a temporary aspect. It's a band-aid. And there's no real way in communicating with them in a way that helps you to understand the nature of your source. And if there is no being that does that, don't waste your time. If it is no being that can help you to come back to your center, you're wasting your time. And unfortunately, there are a great deal of these characters that have been flaunted throughout your society going back centuries, where they've been hailed and praised as saints when they are nothing of the sort, when they are being hailed as lords when they are nothing of the sort. They are imposters. They are holographic projections. They are thought forms. They do not offer true guidance because they don't take you here. And if they don't take you here, discard them. That's our recommendation. If you are working together with a contact, a guide, that's wonderful. Are they helping you to come here? If they are, wonderful. Keep working with them. If they are not, if they are beating around the bush, as you say, as they're just dancing around in circles, giving you this particularly useless information, discard their contact. Tell them to leave. In the nicest ways to put it, we would tell them to get lost. And we say that in the nicest way possible. But again, this is why it is so very important that you need to discern. Because you look at a galactic federation of light, or an Ashtar command, or a Silver Legion, well-known imposter groups, and you think that they have something very important for you when they're very, very good at wasting your time. Because they don't teach you to go here. Anybody, any guide, any entity, any angel, any associate that you come up with, where you connect with them or what have you, that is not taking you here, discard them. Let them go. Release them. They are doing no favors for you. Rather, they are trying to basically get you to run away in circles, because these are programs that are happening through an artificial matrix. You will have these particular beings that may appear very beautiful, very wonderful. They look divine. But when you get so much caught up in their teachings, they're causing you to do this. You're running around in circles, because we would ask those people, have you gone into your own light? Have you gone into your own source through their assistance? Well, no. Well, what have they been teaching you? Oh, just working with the violet flame and just remembering love and light. Remember how everyone is one and so forth. Have they taught you to go into your own source? Have they taught you about the power of moving into the right brain? Have they taught you about managing your kundalini? Have they taught you about going into union with the divine so that you are interconnected with all life? No. Then you're wasting your time. And that's the simple truth of it. This is where you need to be discerning. When you have a guru, when you have a true master, their goal is to get you here. Our goal for all of you is to get you here. And if you're not coming here, you are just dancing around in circles. And it's through these particular beings and through these false organizations that are covering up the true ones, because there is a true Galactic Federation of Light, but very few people actually talk to them. There is a true Ashtar, but very few talk to him. There is a true Yeshua, a true Jesus, but very few talk to him. There is a very true Buddha or Tathagata, but very few talk to him. You fall for the illusions. You fall for the imposters, because they're dancing you around with stories rather than helping you to come here. And that's why we're telling you all this. This is the importance of discerning. Are they causing me to do this, or are they helping me to get here? And if they're helping you to get here, that is a guide that you can continue to work with, because they indeed want to see you grow. They want to see you come into your center. That is a guide with integrity, with love, and with compassion. If they are doing the opposite, kick them to the curb. That would be our suggestion. There's our take on Saint Germain and others. All right? We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all. Goodbye for now. Like I said, don't ask the question if you don't want to hear the answer. I'm sure that might shock quite a few people. Like I said, this is something I've known for a very long time. I've had people who have come up to me, especially in sessions. So I've talked into Saint Germain, and I've actually had to bite my tongue a few times. Yeah, I've talked to Sananda. I've talked to Mother Mary. I'm not trying to be rude, but like I said, if I don't say something, I feel like I'm doing a disservice, even though if they get pissed at me. Well, there you go. So unfortunately, guys, a lot of those GFL, Ashtar Command, so-called gurus and sages and saints are a bunch of bullshitters in many different ways. So this is where I say it's not to say that there isn't an actual being that may represent what the truth is, but we're being bewildered by these holograms and impersonators. And I've talked about that for years, so it's really nothing new. But just be mindful about that. If they're not bringing you here, get rid of them. Simple as that. Gotta be direct in these things, my friends. This is not a problem. This is not a matter of dancing around the bush, or or flying by the seat of your pants. You need to discern. It's so important. Okay. I'm not bashing angels as well too. There are some very genuine angels that can help you out a lot. If they're helping you get here, those are wonderful angels. If a guide or a saint is coming into your room and they're guiding you here, wonderful. Keep those particular contacts alive. But if they're doing this to you, I don't care if they're an angel. I don't care if they're a saint. I don't care if they relate to themselves as Jesus Christ or what have you. If they're doing this, tell them to fuck off. In the best way I can be, that's blunt, right? But that's basically it. Get lost. Get out of here. You're doing nothing to help me. You're causing me to spin in circles. I want nothing to do with you. Get lost. Right? There you go. And they're gone. They won't come back. You've seen through their illusion. My friends, there's nothing wrong with having that tough love, because that's, for God's sakes, that's what I'm all about. I'm a tough love guy, right? So if I see a lot of deception, even if I've seen people who are being deceived by this and I'm talking to the entity, I will tell that entity to F off, right? Get out of here. Get out of his field. Get out of her field. You are doing nothing but causing confusion. And if you won't get out of here, then I will certainly work with the spirit power and get you out of here, right? And that's what you got to do. You got to stand tall. You got to stand in your light. You don't put up with BS, particularly with a lot of these angelic consciousnesses that are coming in and they're just doing this. If it's an angelic consciousness that's coming in and they're taking you here, wonderful. Great, stay with them. But what happens when they're doing this? What are they doing? They're beating around the bush. They're wasting your time. It's a mind control experiment. Cut it out. Get them out of here. F off. There you go. There's using your tactfulness, right? All right. Angels are real, my friend. Everything's real. It's kind of like everything is real, while at the same time, nothing is real. So choose your preference, okay? Angels are real, my friend. This is what people will basically talk about, is they will see their family members coming to them in dreams and they will look like they're angelic. The nature of an angel, right? Let's take a look at that word before we leave here, okay? You have the word angel. Okay, and I really want you guys to pay attention to this, because so many people think that they're all biblical, and that's not the case. But Bible will utilize them in allegories, but they are a very real thing, okay? So, here's angel. Now, you know why I underlined the two words L? Because an angel is a perception of God. It is an angle. It is a perceiving of God. It is a realization of God. It is a servant of God. It is a messenger of God. It is a healer of God. It is a master of good tidings of God. Okay? That's what an angel is, or an angel. Right? You call it an angel or an angel or angel. Okay? It's the EL that matters. Okay? The EL, when you look at Raphael, Mikael, Uriel, Gabriel, okay? These all have different references pertaining to the Mika or the Uri or the Gabri. Okay? But what matters is the El. Okay? Embodiment of God. That's an angel. When Jesus, Yeshua, was here on the planet, angel. He was being a messenger. He was being a son of God. Right? When you're looking at Buddha, would represent like an angel. Okay? The El, the embodiment of God. When you're looking at Krishna, like an El, an embodiment of God. When they leave this world and they are working together with you genuinely, legitimately, as themselves, would appear as an angel, a perspective, a light ray, an angle of God, embodied. That is what angels really are. Okay? It's a lot more about looking into the essence of their names. If you really want to know what something means, look into the root meaning about how that particular word was formed. Right? Ang, like an angle of God, an embodiment of God coming in at a certain angle that represents harmonious angles, harmonious alignment. Okay? There's an angel. Doesn't matter if it's your grandparents that are now in spirit that want to bring you a divine message that's helping you to go here. Well, there's an angel, right? It's all of these beams of light that are coming to you that are helping you to understand the nature of life, the nature of yourself, the nature of the universe, and so on and so forth. It helps you to get here, okay? And if those beings can get you here, love them, cherish them. That's wonderful. That is how someone tells me, Brad, I have this guide, and they're always helping me to go to my center. That's fantastic. That's what you want. That's great. Hold on to that guide, because they're bringing you here. And if they're doing this, tell them to F off. And don't let the door hit them in the ass on the way out. Okay? That's how I see it. That's my perspective. That's my point of view, my friends. Like I said, the rest is just up to you, your own discernment. Okay? Thank you, everybody. We are out of time for this week. We went a little bit over today. So, again, I had a great time today. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well, too. I will see you all next week. Brianne will be joining me next week. And so we're going to be taking personal readings next Wednesday, same time. So please remember, everybody, I'm here every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time doing wisdom transmissions. And, of course, this Friday, we'll be doing another Akashic Intelligence report. But, of course, that's filmed offline. I'm looking forward to that one, too. There's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Talk to you next week. Namaskar, and may it be well with you. Bye for now.